Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about this week's new Disney Plus originals. We're also going to be talking about Disney Plus launching in Japan, Wall Street having an issue with Disney Plus, and much more. But before we go any further, just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you are subscribed either on YouTube or the audio platforms. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, etc. So you can find us on the go if you're at the gym, if you just sat at home, whatever, you can find us there. Go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com, where you can favorite, bookmark, add us to your email list, anything like that, just to keep up with the latest news. Just also a big shout out and hello to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for their support. It helps keep all the lights on, helps keep paid towards hosting fees, everything that goes into running this show. So big hello to Sarah for being at the platinum level, and then to the next patrons, including Andrew, Elliott, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Aero, Andrew, Cody, Darren, and Giuseppe, and Lester, and Lauren. So thank you very much for that. While over on the YouTube channel members, big hello to the owner, Ben, Raphael, Robert, J Blue, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Adam, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. Thank you for all of your support. And let's jump into it. So I'm going to be honest, it's been a little bit of a slow week. It's almost like Disney are holding things back for Disney Plus Day. We've had a few little leaks, but generally it's been a very quiet week. Not a lot of originals. Kind of the shows have all kind of, even next week's even worse. We're definitely in this lull before the excitement is about to begin. So let's talk about some of the big news. First off, I'm going to do a little bit of Canada news that I thought was interesting this week. So up in Canada this week, the first episode from the 33rd season of The Simpsons dropped, and they're going to be getting new episodes every week on a Wednesday, which that'll probably be for at least 5 to 6 months of The Simpsons. So they've already got that. They're also getting other shows like Bob's Burgers. This is falling into what's happening around the world now. For example, like here in the UK, we're getting we've already getting American Dad, but we're getting Family Guy, which Canada's also getting new weekly episodes of. In Australia, for example, they're getting Grey's Anatomy and Station 19 coming up. So there's this kind of trend as some of these contracts are starting to come to the end. But The Simpsons, I thought that's a big one. It's just really weird. Canada didn't make any announcements about this at all. Just dropped one day. It's the only place you can watch this series, but they didn't make any major announcements about it. But eventually we'll get to that point, I would hope, in most countries where contracts expire. But yeah, getting Simpsons episode every week for those in Canada, that is a very nice one.
Yeah, I think it's experimental to try and figure out if they can get away with releasing The Simpsons weekly. But I mean, it's consistently in the watch tab on Disney Plus. So if you're gonna hold back a series to do it week by week, The Simpsons is definitely the one to do it.
They'll be week to week anyway, even because of the usual TV.
I was actually going to say I don't recall what the current season of The Simpsons is. I haven't watched it regularly in so long.
The 33 is the new one. 33
so this is the new season. It's not like they're holding the previous season and dropping that one-on-one. This is as it releases, and then on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's about I think it's about 3-4 weeks delay by the looks of it, which is not too bad. But yeah, so expect to see more of this. But again, it's just showing this kind of big shift now internationally of where Disney Plus is kind of their main way of doing it. I'll be honest, I have managed to binge nearly the whole season 19 of Family Guy this week. I haven't watched it for years, and I thought I was a bit like, you know what? Why don't I just start with the newest one rather than trying to go back to season 20. So I thought, and I've really enjoyed it. And it's like, well, with new episodes dropping every week next week in the UK from the 20th season, I thought, yeah, that'll be good. I can watch that every week then. I'll keep up with the new season. So I've been really enjoying that one. So we've also had some new details this week we had a new trailer for Lightyear, which is a brand new Pixar movie coming in June 2022. Now, there was a little bit of confusion for some people because the actual press release never stated cinemas. Some people go, they're going to send it to Disney Plus. The actual poster, I think, in the UK actually had cinemas written on it. So it is coming there. It's going to have Chris Evans playing Buzz Lightyear. So that's a little bit different. I mean, I saw this trailer. I've watched it a few times. I was like, this looks awesome. I mean, what did you think of it?
I definitely am all in for a sci-fi adventure. I don't really care one way or another if it's connected to Toy Story franchise or not, even tangentially. I actually hope it's not. I hope that they don't acknowledge the 4 Toy Story movies in it, and it's just the prequel origin of the real quote unquote Buzz Lightyear.
Well, I mean, I mean, to me, it's like, things like Into Infinity and Beyond. The wings coming out.
No, that
makes sense. But you don't want any reference to Woody or anything like that. Maybe, I mean, there could be a little Easter eggs of some of the toys being in the house or something, or on the ship. Because they have, when they go into space, they have like toys, don't they? I think they took a Baby Yoda on last year.
Yes.
If they had like a little green alien or something like that, I think that would be a nice little Easter egg. You don't want any major.
That is the anti-gravity detector on modern spaceships. It's how they know that they've reached the apex of their launch.
Grogu.
They've been all sorts. It's actually kind of fun to see what the crews pick, because that is one of the very few pieces that the crews get to customize. But yeah, a little Easter egg like that is fine. But I don't want it to be like, this is Andy playing in his backyard, imagining Buzz Lightyear. It'd be okay if it's like framing sequence, beginning and ending, but not like random cuts where you're about to get to the action and then Andy's mom calls him in to have dinner and it gets disconnected. I don't think they're doing that. It looks like they're just going to be, this is straight up a Lightyear adventure. It's sci-fi action adventure. Looks really good. I will say the one thing that tripped me up is Buzz looks very odd as a regular human, but still having the facial proportions of his. I think we'll get used to it because they did make the other characters at least follow the same style. So he's not weird, bulbous chin guy in amongst normal humans, but it's still it is a little bit jarring seeing that. Yeah,
I think we'll get used to. The way I look at this is like it's like a reboot of Toy Story, of like, they can go off in a completely new way. It's like create a brand new franchise, but based on something we already know. It's like a real unique situation, and if this is successful, they could do it for other characters as well. You could have a Woody. They could do a little like Western TV series like with the characters. They've got options, but I thought this just looked amazing. I mean, it looked a little bit Star Warsy when he's like peering over the log, looking at his what looked like an X-wing, and then kind of reminded me of Dagobah. I like that whole thing, and I'm really looking forward to this movie. This just looks like this is a movie I would love from Pixar anyway. But yeah, it just. Even that this, I think that's the thing with the trailer's been doing amazing. I think it's almost that kind of weird thing if everyone can connect with it, and then everyone kind of goes, "Oh, well, that makes sense." Almost like it's not a sequel; it's something different, but they've got that connection with it, and I don't know. It just looks a lot of fun.
It does look like a lot of fun. I mean, we already saw the origin of Woody in Toy Story 2 with the Woody's Roundup old puppet show. It'd be fun to see them do something like that again, or the new Adventures of Woody, like some TV producer finds the old Woody reels and like, we could do something with this, and does like a modern cowboy show with Woody. I'd be all in for that.
But yeah, I just thought that just looked great. It does also feel like June. I mean, we are like 8-9 months away, so they're definitely setting the tone for this. But I also thought, well, this actually works nicely. They can use it in other mediums as well, of like really kind of give it a full-on. I mean, sequels a lot. This could revolutionize kind of Toy Story, really.
Now we're just waiting to see Cars as not Cars in the origin story of Lightning McQueen and Mater.
Yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I feel like that one's gonna be a good one. But yeah, let us know what you guys think of Buzz Lightyear. I keep want to say Buzz Lightyear, but it's just Lightyear.
It's just Lightyear.
It's just Lightyear. So moving on from there, let's now talk about this past week. Disney Plus launched. I'll say launched. It relaunched in Japan because Disney Plus was available. It was available last year. It was kind of like they reformatted Disney Deluxe, and it had a very limited amount of content. It only had maybe 500-600 titles, very limited. You had to be with a certain provider to get access to it. Whereas now it's launched, you can get it on all devices. It's like it is for us all now, where you can get it everywhere. You've got the full. It is essentially a full Disney Plus. You can now. You've got all the same options. 7 user profiles, 10 devices. It is exactly the same as it is internationally. They also got the launch of Star, which meant that they got lots of new content there, just an expansion of hundreds of titles of movies and series. loads of anime. They added a load of anime series. There's a whole collection that everyone has just gone. There's a lot of people really excited, just kind of going, Japan's got all these great shows. Can we have them? They just like, yeah. And other than that, there wasn't a lot of other Japanese content. They're going to be adding more as it goes on, but it was a little bit like there's a couple of shows, a couple of and a few anime, but that was about it. It's primarily kind of what we've already got internationally.
Yeah, my understanding with Japan is they don't really do like the shopping system that we do, where they'll make a show and then try to shop it around. I think a lot of the stations really create the shows from scratch, so there's not much to buy. But if Disney's moving into that market, they'll start producing their own. I haven't seen a list of like what the actual shows are, and honestly, it probably wouldn't mean much anyway.
No, it's very tricky in terms of like, you know, what is on there, and also not only that, it's trying to convert it over. Tokyo Revenge is popping up here. My Hero Academia.
I've actually heard of that one. That's a really big one.
Yeah, World Trigger. That's another one. Again, I'm just going off the posters, so it's a little bit difficult. If it doesn't say Attack on Titan, that's another one.
Another one I've heard of. That's very popular, and that's, to my understanding, that's very adult too.
Yeah. I'm just looking here at some of the other things. Psychopath is another anime, another one. Yeah, so they've been getting. I'm just looking here. So what's that one? That's not in English. Again, if it hasn't got the English name, I can't. My Japanese reading is not very good. But yeah, so just lots of content, lots of different exciting things there. But also, we'll give Disney a little bit of a boost this month for October. Because then next month they're launching on the 12th in Taiwan and South Korea, and then a few days later on the 16th of November they're launching in Hong Kong. So there's a lot more and then next year they got loads of stuff coming up. But yeah, just getting Japan in. It'll be interesting to see how much more of a boost it gets with being available everywhere and the addition of Star. And again, Japan now has a full version of Disney Plus, like here in the UK and like in Australia and Canada, but a pretty nice lineup.
Yeah, and happy for them, and I hope they bring some of that stuff across. And if they do, I guess I'll have to go and find a list of which anime are worth watching off of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit different in terms of what they've got there. I just want to see what else. Yeah, so they are Tokyo Mirror was there, I think, the one series, but then they've said that's going to be coming pretty much everywhere. If you're an old subscriber, it's all like changing from the 1st of November because there's like a price rise, and as you'd expect to happen. So speaking of international rollouts, let's now talk about Wall Street, which apparently are not very happy, or not really as happy with Disney Plus as they once were, because it was kind of the golden child of like, this is the great new thing. According to a recent report, they're not happy with it. This is Barclays had predicted that they're actually only going to hit 203 million subscribers by 2024, which would fall short of beating Netflix, because Disney had predicted between 230 and 260 million subscribers to their platforms. Now, with that there, what it has done is it has brought up, this is like lowering expectations. So Wells Fargo, they've reduced theirs by 20 million to 236. So it still could hit the target. Guggenheim has dropped it by 13 million to 240, while Moffett-Nathanson has currently dropped their prediction by 3 million. So this is it's not just one analyst, this is multiple analysts, because they're now viewing it, it's a little bit more risky than it was. It's not growing as fast as it was. Back at the last quarterly investors call, they said that it wasn't moving anywhere near as fast as they wanted it to. And it's a little bit tricky, because I think like this month is a little bit, for example, if they don't launch in any other countries, they don't get a little boost. So like now they've had a boost in Japan. Next month they're launching in 3 new territories, so they're going to get a nice boost in the next. So as long as they launch in a new country every 3 months, they'll continue to get that nice little boost. But trying to get up, another 100+ million people, they're going to need to keep launching. They've got the whole of, there's got massive countries in Eastern Europe still launching. You've still got areas right the whole across Africa, the Middle East, and there's still some countries in Southeast Asia like Vietnam, the Philippines. There's still lots of countries. So I'm still looking and going, well, they're still going to be able to pull in lots of, if they just launch in every country, they're probably going to get quite close to this. They could probably, I'd imagine 50 million wouldn't be a huge stretch just by launching in other countries without doing anything more than they're doing already.
Yeah, I also don't really give a whole lot of like credibility to this, because even if they hit these targets, Wall Street will look at that and go, okay, well, you hit the targets. Now we've got new targets for you. And eventually, no matter what happens, they're not going to hit some target, whether it's this one or the next one or the next one. And whenever that happens, Wall Street's just going to go, oh, well, you're worthless to us now. Here's your stock dip. And like, whatever.
Yeah, I think as well, I think that's the problem of like the expectations of what Disney Plus has. They have had problems with production. There's no point in sugarcoating it. You can't lose 6 months to a year of production and it not impact. And I think the trouble is as well, it's like things open, everything goes back, and everyone goes, okay, well, we're all back to normal. Yeah, but you don't catch up on a year. That means anything that went into production when everything reopened will still have to go through 6 months to a year to 2 years of production before it hits. So we've already known that there's a lot of content not arriving on Disney Plus yet because it just hasn't been made yet. There's been delays, and that's ultimately an issue. And I think people are very much aware. I mean, we're going to look at this month. It's been a very, very, very empty month.
Yeah, and I think this is the one point I do agree with the Wall Street analysts on, is that they pointed out there's a lack of new content that really draws people in. We've talked about this a couple times where, yes, there's new content coming in. There's Doogie Kamealoha, there's the Star content. There's normally something to watch, like Just Beyond and Under Wraps and things like that for Halloween, but there were none of these Hawkeye or Loki, Mandalorian things that go, all right, these are the ones that you kind of watch because you're already subscribed, and these are the ones that bring in new subscribers. And they are lacking at the moment. Those new subscribers were in that little blank period.
Yeah,
obviously we know the lineup is going to start improving in the very near future. Hawkeye is coming soon. Book of Boba Fett is coming right after that. Presumably Miss Marvel is going to be coming in at some point. But I do agree with them. They need to be producing more content that draws people in, though I do disagree with their assessment that Netflix is necessarily doing better with this. Now, Netflix brings in a lot more original content. You just look at the release list and it's like new stuff every day. But you also look at what are the ones that people end up buzzing about it. And we had Tiger King last year. We had the Queen's Gambit. Right now we've got Squid Games. But that's 3 titles over the course of a year, which is about the same as Disney. So they're not creating the huge name content at a higher thing, but they do have that weekly content that Disney does not have.
And I think as well, I mean, like you look at 2022, I mean, to me, even if we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so we know we've got Book of Boba Fett, we've got Obi-Wan, and if we've got Andor as well, I mean, you're looking there at probably around about 20 weeks of Star Wars content. And then if you throw in 3 Marvel series, then you're looking at another 3 from. So suddenly then it doesn't look quite so bad. But my big thing is that Marvel and Star Wars are only bringing in so many people. You're only bringing in some, that will not appeal to everybody. Obviously, internationally, we have got a massive shift. And the thing is, the Wall Street is very much set on the US version of what they're looking at. They want growth in other countries, but they don't seem to recognize what's going on in other countries. It's a little bit, you're like, oh yeah, you've grown there, but they're not really focusing on, they're just looking at what's going on. There is still a lot of issues in the United States with Disney Plus in terms of its opinion. And we've been doing some polls and stuff in our Facebook group this past week, and there's still a large portion of people that still think of Disney Plus as just being, the kids, they don't want anything in there, nothing, they want to keep it, when things get brought up that, we talk about, shows coming in on internationally, and they're like, well, this isn't on there. So, well, it is. But there's this 2-tier system going on. So there's a lot going on with that. Now, obviously, as well, there's been a lot of talk recently about Hulu because there's been a report, because this past week, Comcast put out their report saying that they are basically in no rush to sell. They're in no rush to sell what they're doing. And it's causing a little, that definitely caught, I think, a lot of people off guard, because according to the rep, they said that they did the right thing, not buying it up, not selling. The value of Hulu is continuing to go up, and they're just going to hold out. Now, I personally feel like there's a little bit of games going on in terms of business of, yeah, if it's worth this much now and in 2 years' time it's going to be worth more, it would make it make sense for them to hold on to it. Also, maybe puts a little bit more pressure on Disney to kind of buy it out. And up their game in terms of what they're offering. And I definitely feel like that is something that they need to do. And I definitely feel like it's definitely putting that whole thing of like, do not expect any announcements of Disney buying out Comcast or buying out Hulu, buying out Hulu at anytime soon. And also, probably more importantly, no chance of like Disney Plus in the US getting anything more mature yet. But obviously, that just threw that little extra ball in there this week of like, I think this, because there's so many people I know in the US that want Disney Plus to have the Hulu content, but this kind of put a little bit of a, I would say a block in the way of kind of going, look, guys, we've got at least 2 more years before anything can really happen on that front, unless Disney pony up some money, which is why they launched Star everywhere and why they launched Star Plus in Latin America, because they didn't want to use Hulu. They didn't want to make it more valuable to Comcast. That was the prime reason they did this. I mean, there's been a lot of people saying that Star Plus is a massive flop down in Latin America, and that might make them change their mind. But there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So I think right now, again, we've just got to look at, we're going to have Hulu probably for at least if based on what they've said this week, nothing is changing until they get forced to be brought out, unless Disney, as I said, put up a lot more money. It just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And as much as we do have people who want that adult, more mature content on Disney Plus, there's also still a fairly large base of people here in the States who don't want anything higher than PG, and even get offended if you get PG-13 on there. So Disney does have to balance that. Although I think we all know which way the wind is blowing in that regard.
I mean, to me, it's very simple. You can't compete with Amazon, Netflix, HBO. Nobody else is doing it. Yeah, Disney Plus have got this reputation in the US. Of course, here, internationally now, we're all shifting away from that. And we're all getting used to it. Even now, like I said, all the movies that got dropped, and there were big adverts all over our social media this weekend of what movie are you watching on Disney Plus? A Book of Blood's ready or not? There's a load of movies. We've gone past that point now. They're even pushing Star now. It's a brand, and that's what they're doing. But yeah, it just meant now that we're not going to get in. I would imagine, we need to just, especially if you're expecting an announcement on Disney Plus Day. This has definitely been a little bit of a kickstart. Like, they are nowhere near being able to announce anything at the minute.
No, I would not expect that they will get any form of advanced luck on that. The contract will have to be waited out.
Either that, or they're going to have to pay a lot more money than what they're offering to get out of it quicker. But to me, there's a little bit of games going on there. But I think people just need to be aware that is going to be the case. Right. Okay. So that was that on there. Let's now talk about some of this week's Disney Plus originals. Not that there was a lot of them. So let's start off with Marvel's What If Assembled. So this was a making of one. What did you think of this one?
I was a bit disappointed with this one, honestly.
It's a bit fluffy, wasn't it?
It was fluffy. They really spent a lot of time talking about the story, but not the behind the scenes of the story. It was really just kind of like, oh yeah, we did this with them, and I was really happy to be working with these characters. Like, okay, cool. I saw it too. I know what happened already. I don't need to know that. One thing that did slight sidetrack. One thing that amused me a lot was one of the first things they said was like, these are all original stories, and we didn't draw from the Marvel comics at all. I'm like, you literally have an entire episode of Marvel Zombies that is straight from the comics.
And they said it as well.
They said it later. They did acknowledge it later, but the very first line or the second line, it was like, these are original. They're not in the comics. I'm like, yeah, they are. They're right there. There's like 100 Marvel zombie comics you can read.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing Agent Carter in as Captain Carter. I think it was in was it one of the Marvel games, Puzzle Quest or something like that? I've seen her pop up and stuff before. But yeah, I don't know. It was okay. It was, at least it felt very different to the Black Widow one, which just felt like the extras of a Blu-ray. This one at least felt a little bit more fluff. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was interesting when they kind of went into a little bit with the artwork and stuff and floating around ideas and stuff. And like the idea, well, we put them all together and before we know what we'll do at the end. Like, you must have thought a little bit more than that. You must have planned, this big epic Guardians of the Multiverse. I would have imagined you would have thought about that a little bit more than the way they presented it.
I'm certainly they thought about it a lot more than just that, and they're talking about the process behind crafting. I'm like, you could have done a little bit more than this. I really wanted more details about the art. Now, not the artwork origination. They were obviously talking about, Norman Rockwell and things like that, but the actual process that they used to animate this, because I'm sure there was a heavy use of computers. You can tell just by the way they're animated. But I would have liked to have seen how they did it. Instead, all they did was like, here's a promo shot. Here's me sketching out ideas for Captain Carter. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't very meaty. It was a bit like, I would say it was definitely the most disappointing, I think, of the making of. Again, I don't know if it's because of how they made it, or they didn't, maybe again, when you talk to actors and stuff, they're very good at kind of fluffing up what they do and their part and all the rest of it, and the thought that goes into it. So you put a camera onto, Scarlett Johansson or Tom Hiddleston, they can probably fill a film minutes much easier than an artist, because they're not used to talking to the cameras in the same way. But yeah, just as a whole, I mean, we didn't really see, other than I think is it. I can't think of the guy that plays the Watcher. We didn't see anybody else doing their voices.
Jeffrey Wright, I believe.
Yeah. We didn't see anybody else doing their voices. No B-roll footage of anyone, filming it. That would have been quite cool. But yeah, I must admit, his voice when he talks into the microphone is like that is a one sweet sound.
Having heard him as the Watcher, having seen him in Westworld, is like, yeah, you guys picked the right Watcher. That was definitely a good vocal choice there. And then obviously he spent quite a bit of time thinking about how to present the character and how to give the character depth, because that could be a character is literally just like, I watch what's going on and just have no personality at all. And he injected quite a bit into that. So it was good to see his perspective, but I would have liked to have seen other people talking about their roles. Even some of the actors who had to step in for the big names that weren't there. Let's talk to the Tony Stark actor. What was it like to not be Robert Downey Jr. and take on this iconic role, something like that?
Yeah, it's like I said, it was a little bit fluffy. It would have been nice to have a little bit more in depth on that series.
I think what it ultimately comes down to is, like, normally when you watch these, you come away with a little bit more knowledge of production, of what the thought was, what they were trying to do. And this is just like, you recapped the episodes.
Yeah,
that's about all I got out of it.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like you say, you didn't really feel like you learned a lot coming out of it, but it was an easy episode. It was definitely felt the easiest one to watch. It didn't really feel like a huge amount kind of went on with it, but I don't mind Assembled. I think it's a nice little add-on and a little bonus. I actually think it's a little bit better for them to do it like one episode on each thing, right? Because I feel like Disney Gallery The Mandalorian was a bit much with like 6-8 episodes. The making of is longer than the series is, when no, guys, you need to pull it back.
To be fair, when the Gallery came out, they were in the middle of like a huge content lull. So I was like, all right, 6 weeks of this is okay.
I'm just gonna like Dave Filoni here, just talk to him for half an hour.
I mean, I will be honest, get Dave Filoni on a mic for a couple hours and just telling Star Wars anecdotes. I could definitely watch that for hours.
And it's fun as well, because it's like with Kevin Feige, like everyone just pulling every single word he said and like stripping it down. Like, yeah, you really can't. It's like, they were like, it's going to go into the live action. Like, well, he kind of hinted at it. It could do, but it was a bit of a throwaway line. I mean, like the whole, it kind of got taken way out of context.
It reminded me of, I guess the last couple of weeks, the last character in Super Smash Brothers, the Nintendo game, was released. Or I think it was Sora, actually.
Yeah, it was Sora,
yeah. And I don't follow Smash Brothers at all, but I did see the tweet from the creator. He's like, I can finally tweet freely without people picking apart every single word as hints for what the next character is. I'm like, I feel you, man.
Yes, it's a good little series. I still think like What If it still was one of those shows of like, the other Marvel shows were great. I really enjoyed them, but What If felt the most original. It felt something fresh. I mean, it would have been amazing in live action, but obviously that would have just been way too expensive. Because I mean, some of the stuff they did in it, they just wouldn't be able to do. I mean, you're talking like $200 million movies if they tried to do what they did. It just wouldn't have worked. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed What If. So let's now move on to the other big show of the week, Doogie MD. So this one here, she was in hospital, and I'm trying to think what she did. Oh yeah, they were at a farmer's market.
It was at a farmer's market. It was. I mean, last week we were kind of like, this isn't bad, and then this week is, back to this nonsense. Yeah, no. So there was the farmer's market, but the main story was, of course, Doogie trying to figure out her love life, and she meets her boyfriend's crew of skaters, and it's like unimpressed, and was like, well, yeah, but you brought like I can't even pronounce it. The meat and cheese board to a skater park. What the heck did you think was going to happen? And then, of course, because it's a teenager show, the new love interest shows up for a minute. It's like, he fills the gaps that the other. It would
have been nice if he'd been in like some scenes in the previous episodes. A little bit of, like at least set the tone that there was this other guy, like in the last few episodes of just like, oh, hi. And, like she's not interested. And then suddenly there's just no, I don't know. It is such a weak show. And I'm going to be honest. It's full, it's fun, it's lighthearted. It's a nice, easygoing show, but it's just like along the lines of there's just nothing to it. It's so vanilla and so bland. Of just like it just needs because like, I mean, there was the other day I was like, they're filming so much of it outdoors so they could get away without wearing masks. And I was just like, we're going to shoot the entire hospital drama by a ice shave van outside.
To be fair, it's also being shot in Hawaii. If I was shooting a show in Hawaii, I would want to do a lot of exterior shots as well too. Yeah,
I mean, it's a beautiful place, and I think that does because it's like when she went power and she was skating, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've been on Waikiki Beach, and like, but I was looking at it a little bit different because like, oh yeah, I remember that statue, and like because I did a vacation there a long time ago. And it was like, and I think that's the trouble is this show pulls on that nostalgia for me of visiting Hawaii, and it gets a free pass because of it. Just has to show me a clip. Oh, I've been there. Oh, that looks lovely, and it's like, I've forgotten what I'm.
I'd forgotten about that skater clip. I cringed my way through that entire skater clip. That was awful.
It was because it's like it's like she's doing tricks and stuff, and then like nicks a car and go, well, wouldn't it have made more sense for him to drive you to where you needed to go?
It was not a good episode. I also wanted to bring up, we mentioned the boy just showing up out of nowhere without any hint. Now we've got this whole subplot with the mother apparently just being completely socially inept. And it's just like, where did this come from? Because we've never seen an indication that she doesn't care about the people that she works with, that she doesn't know anything about their lives, and just like, oh okay, cool. I'm glad that you brought this plot up because it's convenient for this exact moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like to be honest, it's like the only story arc going through the entire series is this mum's thing with trying to get chief resident. But yeah, when it just shows the fact of, because she's so focused on her work, she doesn't pay attention to any of the staff. But it was a little bit, I don't know. It's such a strange little series. It's just this whole thing of them all being at the farmer's market. And, I don't know. It's such a, I think there's a thing of it. I think that problem is it's a disappointing show. It's because there's so much stuff that's really nice about it. Because I actually think like the characters are all very nice. They're all very nice characters. I don't dislike any of the characters in it. I think all the actors and stuff are doing fine with what there is. It's just there's no story, and I think that's the problem. Is I'm not sitting there going, oh, I really hated that show. It's just like, oh, it's just so bland. There's nothing to dislike. It's just nothing happens, and
there's no really major continuing story. Like you said, I wouldn't even call it a fight, but like the decision of who is going to be chief resident or whatever position they're going after is the main story. We know she's probably going to get it at the end. That's not the point.
Well, the other guy is completely useless. He's just going around high-fiving everyone and takes over the unit for playing on the Xbox. And I don't know, it feels a little bit like with what happened with Turner and Hooch, where they have this nice vanilla family show, but there's no substance to it. It's not even like a monster of the week because there's just nothing happening. It would have been nice to have a little bit more hospital drama involved in it.
That's what we were talking about last week. It's like it was a very medical focused episode last week. I'm like, this is much better. Give us more of this.
I still believe they should have called this something different. I really do. I still feel like Doogie Kamealoha MD is a bad name for anybody anyway, because it's just, I think pulling it in on Doogie Howser, it would have just made more sense if they called it something different. And, even, I don't know, Leah Kamealoha MD, and then say, oh, this is based on Doogie Howser. Most people then go, oh, okay, yeah, it's just but I think calling it Doogie kind of brought all that in. And I don't know, it's there's just no excitement about it. We were talking about this with our Facebook group, because mods, because we with the Facebook group, I mean, we've got like 185,000 members, right? So when something's really popular, we know it's popular because people just can't stop. Or the comments, the posts, how much we're having approved. We get that buzz, that excitement. And it happens when Marvel and Star Wars stuff gets announced, or like Lightyear. Lightyear got loads of people excited, loads of people commenting, loads of people excited about it. Even the Kardashian show got a lot of attention, but it was negative. This like Doogie is so like, it's just tumbleweeds. You get the odd poster going, everyone going, is anybody else watching this? It's the same thing with it was the same thing with Turner. Turner had it in week 1, but then it just went away for like the odd post here and there. But and you can see it on social media as well. And I use that as a bit of a gauge, because and the comments, the views of YouTube, you got so many different ways of picking apart what is popular and what isn't. And yeah, this one just doesn't look like one.
I noticed this week it didn't even show up on the What's New on Disney Plus bar. At least for me. I still got like Under Wraps and Just Beyond showing up in that. I actually had to go to the Would You Like to Continue bar to find episode 8.
Well, you get that. I mean, it's actually quite bad if in the UK on some of the shows like that, where you don't actually get notifications. It's like Mixed Dish that I watch every week. It doesn't actually come up in the news because they're adding so much here in the UK. That one doesn't seem to flash up, and they're not trying to push it at all. But that happens with quite a few shows. But again, I don't know what's been going on this past. I mean, it just feels like there's a lot of work going on for Disney Plus Day right now, and there's just been, I think even the updates on the app were quite lack, because like Friday's update last week never even appeared on the front page. I think there's just a lot of work going into next month, and I honestly believe that's what's going on right now. But it is a shame, and actually, to be honest, it's one of those things. If we were saying it's like with Just Beyond, I think had they released like an episode on a Wednesday and a Friday each week right through October, that would have been a nice way of like keeping that show, because that was like a one boost and gone kind of thing. They're trying to still plug it, but if they'd done used like, okay, we've got 8 episodes, if we do 2 episodes a week but spread them out a bit, it would have made it look like stuff was coming in and people would have been talking about each episode as it was coming, whereas instead they dropped them all at once. And again, it's been it's hard then for people to talk about it. I know they did it for the binge because of like youngsters and stuff watching it, but with such a light month, it would have been, I think that would have been a much better way of releasing Just Beyond.
That or Star Wars Visions, that came out not that long ago. If they had released those one a week, I think it would have generated a lot more buzz.
It's almost that kind of thing. Like I know they're trying this whole thing with this like binge drop, but it's like you haven't got enough yet. You've not got enough yet to push this. There's like, I know with one of the national with like, for example, the World According to Jeff Goldblum, there's an episode called Monsters. Well, why not put it out this weekend? That would have been a great thing for Halloween, to put that on there. Again, they held it back, but it feels like, right. It's just this kind of never-ending thing, really. Of it's a light week, a light month, because they've held so much back for Disney Plus Day. And all what's happened is it feels like they've gone right that week and that week we're taking everything away. It's just like because if they dropped Doogie Kamealoha MD, we just had nothing.
Yeah. Now, going back to like talking about Netflix and how sure they don't have like the super name drops outside of like the occasional one like Squid Game or Queen's Gambit, but the binge format does work with them because, okay, stuff drops this week. There's nothing interesting for you this week, but next week there's this show. It might not make headlines, but that's a show for you, and every episode's on it, and you can watch it at your speed. And then the week after that, there's another like 2 or 3 or 4 shows and 2 or 3 or 4 movies. And they don't need to space them out one episode per week because they've got enough stuff coming every single week to draw people in.
I mean, it's funny because the Nelson ratings, they get released every Thursday. Squid Game was just under 4,000 minutes. I mean, I don't think I've seen a number that high since they started doing this chart back in August, I think it was. It was just like, wow. I mean, like the number of people watching, the amount of people watching it for a lot of the minutes was like, it was nearly like the top 5 combined was, the amount of people. And then really interesting to see, Hocus Pocus is shot straight like into the top 5 movies on streaming. And like, it was just like, because I was going for what? Hocus Pocus is back. I was like, well, no wonder they're making a sequel of it for Disney Plus because they're getting this, and maybe that is the thing with Disney Plus. They are getting data that they maybe never really knew as much about. Like, wow, these people really love this movie.
I mean, Hocus Pocus is kind of special in that regard because like there aren't that many mid-range Halloween movies. You've got plenty of monster movies that if you want a proper scare, true horror, you've got plenty of options. There's classics, there's new stuff coming out all the time. But if you want something that's kids safe, a little bit spooky, a little bit fun, you've got Hocus Pocus, The Addams Family. I don't know how the animated movies are, but like at least the ones from the 90s were really good. Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, that's about it, right? Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing as well is because here in the UK this week they dropped Books of Blood, which was a movie they released on Halloween last year on Hulu. Haven't got around to watching it yet. They also dropped The Night House, which is a new horror movie that came out back in August onto Disney Plus here in the UK. So that was a big movie to drop just in time over here. I haven't got around to watching it. I'm a bit funny with horror movies. Me and my wife, we did watch Antlers this week, which came out in cinemas this weekend. So it's out for Halloween. So you can go. It'll be on Disney Plus internationally in a couple of months' time. But I mean, I don't watch Halloween, sort of horror movies. And my wife was like, "Wow, this is a bit different for us to watch." Like, I said, "I've got a movie we're going to watch." And we watched, and it's like, it was like scary and jump. And I'm going. I said, I really enjoyed it. I said because I don't watch them very often. It felt quite like, you could see some of the stuff coming a mile away. But it was kind of, I really enjoyed Antlers. It was, I think, because I don't watch a lot of horror movies, it kind of like, I enjoyed that because it was a little bit different, a bit kooky, but not really kooky. But some of the monster stuff was a bit, they hid stuff. And I always say, hiding stuff from people is sometimes the best thing. Like a CGI and all the rest of it doesn't necessarily, your mind can do a much better job than CGI can. So just, a little shadow, a little look of the arm or a little eye can make a much bigger impact on you than a massive, great big CGI monster ripping apart a place.
I mean, it's not even just CGI. You look at some of the old monster movies with people in rubber suits, you're like, that's not even remotely scary. But then you look at a movie like Alien, the first one, where you only see the alien like a handful of times throughout the movie. That is one of the scariest movies. I mean, it's not traditional horror like The Exorcist or something, but that first Alien movie was definitely a thriller. What's going to happen? Who's going to make it out? Thing, and you barely see the alien in it at all.
Yeah. No, but there's lots of stuff for people to watch this weekend with all the Halloween stuff, especially internationally. Just loads of great like horror movies and stuff. Anything else you've been watching this week?
Continued up on What We Do in the Shadows. I mistakenly thought it ended last week, but apparently this was actually the last week. I'm halfway through season 3, which is the last one. I'm really enjoying that. So I'm sad that I'll be fully caught up probably by the end of next week. But
I've been working my way through the Orville, so I think I'm pretty much at the end of season 1. I've been really enjoying this series. I actually even said it to my dad the other day. I said, "Dad, what?" I said, because he loves Star Trek, Babylon 5, anything like. I said, "Look, there's this show." I said, they have this odd, weird little joke in there every now and again. But I said, it's actually a really good Star Trek series. I was just like, because I think I was expecting much more Family Guy. And it's like, each episode moves on and going, there's like 2 jokes in this each episode. And I like that the fact that they're all a little bit more human. They're actually, they're not quite so perfect. And I've been really enjoying this series. So I promised to watch like 4 or 5, at least 5 or 6 episodes this week. I said, been watching American. Oh, I keep saying American Guy, Family Guy. So I've watched I literally have plowed through, I think, pretty much season 19 in because I've just been leaving it on and watching. It's just I just been. I mean, some of the stuff is so funny, but I've been really enjoying this show, and it's like a show that's been around for so long. Because I mean, it has been around for 20 years, but it kind of I fell off in the middle, like with a lot of these ones. But yeah, I've just been really enjoying that show as well.
So it's been a bit of a Seth MacFarlane week for you.
Yeah. It's really weird because I don't. It's like it's always been a little bit hit and miss with him. But because I mean, I didn't really like Ted and some of the other movies he's been in. But yeah, the Orville's definitely hitting a spot that are going. Oh, I quite like this. This is filling in. And again, this is what happens when you get no major new releases. You kind of can jump in. But I always find as well, I like to have like 1 or 2 shows on the go. Because I'm also, like I said, I'm watching Mixed-ish. I think I did actually do about 6 or 7 episodes of Blackish because season 6 dropped, and I just had a few episodes I hadn't seen at the end. So I've been jumping around a little bit with some different kind of seasons, some different shows, and catching up on some bits and pieces, which is good, which is what I've been enjoying. But I'm just trying to think what else we've.
I'll just jump in, and I haven't seen The Orville in quite some time. I'm looking forward to season 3, but I will throw that out as a recommendation if you like sci-fi shows. You mentioned that like the characters are more human, more flawed. Like there's no like perfect Wesley floating around or whatever. One thing I did like that's kind of the opposite of that is the alien characters really do feel alien. They're not just humans that are more honorable like Klingons, or they're not just humans who have no emotions like Vulcans. Like no, the Worf character.
I mean his whole the whole thing with him like with his daughter, and then there was a whole story then about him cheating in the holodeck on his husband, and it was, and then there's a whole one of like there's someone that she's really strong, like losing her strength because of the gravity, and I was really enjoying this series. It just came. I don't know why I missed this show the first time out.
I think the problem was the miscommunication at the beginning. It's a Seth MacFarlane show. You were really expecting Star Trek Family Guy or Star Trek American Dad, and it's not. Like you said, there's a couple jokes. It's not quite as serious as Star Trek. They definitely kind of like, here's a planet full of people who are obsessed with Instagram, and there's definitely episodes.
I really like that episode. It's kind of like
really but yeah, it's actually more serious than you expect. It's almost a more realistic Star Trek, and like, we do all these fantastic, amazing things, but they're normal to us. And
well, I know for me, I've watched more episodes of this. I stopped Discovery and I just stopped Picard because I wasn't enjoying them. Whereas Orville, I'm in. I'm totally in. I'm going to go through the second season as well over the next couple of weeks. But it's been good. I'm trying to think. I think. I did record because it's not on Disney Plus here yet. It's the Monica Lewinsky FX impeachment series. I have recorded it. I was going to start watching it but the FX series dropped on the BBC over here, so I've been stacking that one up to watch at some point as well. But FX is a little bit of a weird one in terms of stuff, but loads of nice stuff. But anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I think that's about it. There's a lot of good stuff on the Hulu Star side to check out. Just not stuff dropping right now. We're not talking about Why the Last Man or whatever anymore.
I stopped watching that. I just gave up on that one. I just was like, I couldn't be bothered.
I realized I was going to sit down and watch whatever the current week. I think it might be 10. And I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I can't be bothered to finish this show off. If I really feel like it, I'll just go read the comics again.
It's fell off.
And then obviously Only Murders in the Building is done for the moment. So it's quiet even with the Hulu stuff.
I mean, I've still got a couple episodes of Reservation Dogs. I feel like I want to. I think there's 2 episodes I've not watched it, but I kind of feel that when I want to watch me. I think I'll binge a couple episodes at a time.
I actually finished that. I should have mentioned that. I forgot about that. I finished off the first season of Reservation Dogs. Really enjoyed that series. It had some low moments. It had some high moments, but on the whole, definitely worth watching.
There's a new show starting on Disney Plus next week, The Premise, which is an FX series as well. We're getting like 2 episodes next week. It's only on like right through, so I'll give that one a go next week. They're all like anthology episodes, so let's just see how they go, and that's something I'm going to check out next week. But on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week with we're going to be doing a Disney Plus predictions episode. So we're going to be talking about all what we're expecting on Disney Plus. I'll also be sharing my thoughts on Dope Sick and The World According to Jeff Goldblum season 2. And you'll find that one on the podcast networks next week. Thank you very much to our supporters. Thank you very much to everyone for watching. See you guys soon. Later. I'd like to thank all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for their support. You can become a member from as little as $2 a month and you get access to our weekly Q&A and much more.